Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good, the podcast where we open up the space to have conversations about trends and campaigns at the intersection of marketing, advertising, and impact.
Hi, I'm Alana Ficalora.
Hey, I'm Steph Belsky.
We're social impact strategists, colleagues, and friends who are on a mission to revolutionize the industry we love.
Today, there's a lot of virtue signaling, greenwashing, cause washing, or companies saying nothing out of fear of getting it wrong.
Whether it's a moment or a movement, it still has to be real. It has to be authentic and aligned with the brand, not just performative. It's about the action being taken that goes along with the messaging.
So, we're here to highlight who's doing it well, what could be better, and how companies can stop leaving money and the potential for real social change on the table.
Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good. Our guest today on Creative Conversations is Ryan Davis. Ryan, before we get into your bio and what you actually do, can you please tell us the why behind it? Why do you do what you do without actually literally saying what you do?
Well, the why goes back all the way to like 2003 during like the build up to the Iraq War. And I was really pissed off about it. And there was this guy running for president named Howard Dean. And I was inspired by him. And I literally packed up my little apartment and moved to Burlington, Vermont. And I showed up and I'm like, I want to help. And they're like, what do you know how to do? And I'm like, I know the internet. And that is the why ultimately that we are here today.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Set the stage.
Yeah.
Love it. So now let's actually share what it is you do. Ryan Davis is a digital strategist and storyteller who knows the internet, who co-founded People First, the leading influencer marketing firm in democratic politics. With a career spanning presidential campaigns, startups, and viral advocacy, he's helped shape narratives for Obama 2012, the marriage equality movement, and major public health efforts. A digital nomad and podcast host himself, Ryan blends cultural insight with sharp strategy to drive impact across platforms.
Welcome, Ryan. We're so excited to have you, as we said, and we'd love to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. So the first question we ask all of our guests is, what first drew you to impact?
Well, I like the story I just told. I think once I saw sort of what the internet could do for good,
Yeah.
and we were really naive in those times. We didn't think about what the internet might do for bad.
Really?
I got involved sort of like right away in other kind of political campaigns, and then I got into social impact when I went and worked at Blue State. And I always, my politics, like I was doing politics anyway, so to do it professionally made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to that, when you were inspired to jump in and wanted to support the campaign, had you studied politics or policy or any background in it up to that point? Or you kind of just went down that path and were so intrigued by the work you did there that you continued on for the rest of your career?
No, I was definitely interested in politics and I was interested in the internet, but my career desire I was studying to be a theater director.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was at Marymount Manhattan College on the Upper East Side. And, I'm reading Strindberg and, directing plays. Even though I was an internet kid when I was younger, I didn't really want to do that as a career.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even sure what that would look like because back in 04, 05, this is like barely the internet marketing is
freshy.
just like
so
new. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I went over to Blue State, which is like 2010, it was cool because we're helping all these big nonprofits kind of do their digital transformation. Like what does it look like for the American Heart Association to be online in 2010, and kind of thinking for these big organizations and smaller orgs. That was a really cool experience. And that got me, hooked.
Well, and ironically, politics is the ultimate theatrical performance, right?
Yes.
So really, you were doing exactly what you were trained to do.
Yeah. It's funny how now, I'm now I'm still directing, but it's just like TikTok videos,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so amazing. Full circle.
Amazing.
I mean, maybe it is still politics, but what issue area or areas are you personally most passionate about?
Well, I'm gay, so I've always been really involved in the LGBT rights movement, in the marriage equality fight, in LGBT homeless youth work. And so that's been something I've been really passionate about. That's probably the issue that I've been the closest to. I've done some arts advocacy as well. Like I've been on the boards of theater companies, and whenever I have those opportunities, we try to work to make sure that we can make the art accessible to folks. Like, how do we have a free night for any
Yeah.
New York City public school kid who wants to come to see a Weird Off Broadway show? And
Yeah.
surprisingly, many do. So those are the places that I think I spent most of my time on.
Yeah. I love that. That's very cool.
So, Ryan, I know we have a lot to cover, but what's one impactful project you've worked on that you're most proud of?
Yeah. So thinking of like the scope of my career, actually, I'd like to talk about the For 2012, which was a campaign that I worked on in 2012. And there were 4 states that had marriage equality on the ballot. And, I'm originally from Maryland, and a lot of the big groups were spending money on the 3 states. And they had this idea that Maryland, because of how it was demographically, wouldn't support marriage equality. And I just thought that was like thinking from 3 years ago. I thought that the mood had shifted, that the endorsements from folks like Obama. I thought that we had the momentum, and so I started this 100-day countdown to the election on Tumblr. And every day we would post a meme, a piece of viral content, instructions on how to vote. We partnered with New Left Media, this cool like YouTube channel at the time, to make documentaries about gay families in each of the 4 states, and we released them. And it was such a beautiful campaign. And, it's a little pre-influencer marketing, but influencers then got involved, right? Like people with YouTube channels and people who wanted to kind of like be a part of the project. And so that I was always really proud of. And then we won all 4 states. And then the campaign won a bunch of awards. So,
Win all around.
Yeah. And it was a really, really beautiful campaign. Jet House helped us design it, and Blue State and the team ran a lot of the strategy. And it was cool.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring back Tumblr. I miss Tumblr.
Yeah, right?
I was reading that Gen Z is getting into Tumblr now, and I'm like, all right.
See if I can get behind
it will have its revival.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fast return too. I feel like these days, usually it takes double that amount of time for something to come back as like vintage or cool again.
Yeah.
Or retro, I guess.
I think the cycle is speeding up. Everything is faster. Yeah,
totally. I guess that would make sense, right? That totally makes sense. Yeah. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
Ooh, I think the challenge that we're facing as an organization is people are just burned out, politically.
Yeah.
Funders are burned out. So there's like fewer programs, but creators are burned out, and they don't feel safe. And I think, they some of them really have a point, right? Like, they want us not to feel comfortable. And, if the right wing takes over the internet, it's this is where the conversations are happening. So it's really important for people to I think to stick in and to be the kind of internet user that you want the world to have.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is it. That's really interesting. And it is, I feel like there have been so many conversations around this idea that they want everyone to feel overwhelmed. They want to take away that psychological safety, that safety of freedom and being able to have free speech or being able to say what you believe and really stand behind anything for fear of retribution. Or, I constantly see people sharing things that they're, using burner phones when they leave the country because they're worried, even though they're American citizens, even white American citizens, that they're worried about not being let back in if they leave or they travel to other states or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So especially as somebody who has a creator who has a very big social presence and, is more easily trackable in that sense. I totally can understand why people would be concerned in some ways.
Yeah. We've had campaigns, we've done campaigns for groups that were supporting reproductive freedom in Texas. So we have to go find young women to talk about hey, if I get pregnant in Texas, I don't want to die of a miscarriage because the doctor can't do just basic medical procedures.
Yeah.
And 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 these are brave folks. The content goes up. It's really powerful. And then the comments and we've never seen anything like it. It gets caught in some kind of like, a piece of content can get caught in some kind of algorithm. It's like it gets blown in the wind to the wrong place. And it's like, dear God,
Yeah.
this is not the audience this was meant for. And so like we have to turn off those comments. We've had creators where we've had to email the client and be like, look, sorry, it's just too much. We're going to have to delete the content. The creator doesn't, and the clients understand, because when you see some of the things people will say, and yeah, it's wild. And the research that we've done, when creators go live on content, the sentiment is generally more positive than brand content, because people are less likely to be like, hey, this single mom in Georgia, she's the worst, and say horrible things to her. But if like Planned Parenthood posts something, they have no problem being like, the worst things imaginable. But even with these hot button issues, it's not enough to have a human face and to remind people that there are humans behind these issues. And it's tough.
It is tough. And the thing is too, is right, those stories are so vitally important. And the way those laws are written, especially in states like Texas and things, there are legal consequences if you violate these absurd repro rights, laws and restrictions that have been put into place. So I'm sure that's an uphill battle as well. I still am working on a repro rights project to speak to young men, and in working with our creator for it, we were like very clear in our contract that we don't know what the response is going to be. And do you understand what you're stepping into? And like, in case you get backlash, like, are you willing to receive that? And what is your comfort level? Like, we had to have all those conversations up front, because it is such a real thing.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm a stand-up comedian. It's fine. I'm used to that. And I was like, okay, but like, are you? This could go in so many different directions if it actually does really well. So just to be clear.
I think people don't know what it's like to be the main character until they are it. I have avoided that. I've had a couple internet days that I've had projects blow up and things that I worked on blow up, and I had cool moments, but I was never the main character. I don't think it's ever good to be the main character, even if it's the main character for like being the best thing ever. You don't want to be the main character.
Someone else can have the spotlight. I'll be the backup dancer.
Happy to be the 27th character of a Wednesday,
Totally. Hidden behind the scenes.
Exactly.
It's great.
I was gonna say I'm glad you brought up pro-choice dudes, Alana, because that was one of the things that I was thinking about, how rich and engaging of the conversation this would be with Ryan in regards to the work that you're doing with choice dudes. So good stuff.
Well, it sounds like it fits right into how we think about the world, which is the messenger is as important as the message. And if you need to convince white dudes about repo rights, you should get other white dudes who are around their age, who they would play ball with or video games with, and speak bro to bro. And sometimes we get clients who will like sometimes think that the content is supposed to speak to them. But I'm like, but you're not a 22-year-old.
You're doing
Midwestern
it wrong.
Guy. Yeah. You're like a New York City executive, and you're super cool and you have great taste. But this is not for you.
Yeah, totally. You're like, that's why you're hiring us to find the person.
I don't know that I'd respond to this. I'm like, good. We don't want you. This is not for you to respond to. And then when the results come in and they see the engagement rate and the comments and the submissions, they're like, oh wow, this really resonated. I'm like, it's made to resonate with young white men.
Right.
That's literally been my joke on the project the entire time, is like, people be like, oh, do you think it's funny? And I'm like, no, but I'm not the audience, so I shouldn't think it's funny, because if I think it's funny, then it's not going to reach the audience.
Exactly.
Like, I am very much like, I don't agree with any of the things he says, but like, that's also fine. Like, it's not my vibe, and it shouldn't be.
We have to be willing to give up some of the messaging control on the left and like in the nonprofit world. And I feel like that there's still like a lot of like hesitancy to do that, because there's like a perfection to this idea of like there's a perfect messaging that's been tested, and it has to be just like this, and then Trump goes on Joe Rogan and talks for 6 hours incoherently, and it's like a huge win for him. It's like maybe you don't have to be so precious about every aspect. Maybe we are.
Maybe we have too high of expectations for ourselves and humanity.
I saw the DNC had some open marketing roles open. Maybe you should go show them how it's done.
I wouldn't want that job.
Ryan's like, you could not pay me enough.
The DNC has turned up the volume. I think recently they're trying some new stuff. They're engaging in the meme wars. I still think they could do a little more, like what we're talking about now, like more influencer creator work. I do worry that the lesson the Democrats have learned is more capital I influencer, and that's like more celebrity, which is has a place, but it's not what I think is the most powerful about influencer.
It seems to be too that there's a movement. I mean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it too, but it seems to be that there's going to be more of a movement towards the more niche audiences, niche groups, like truly meeting people where they are versus like this person who's basically like a new version of a celebrity, like to your point, capital I influencer.
I mean, I think that's when I'm looking at like what's happening in marketing right now, like I see that happening, the niche sort of creator thing happening. And that's certainly like a real thing. But I also see the return of community in things like Substack and broadcast channels and messaging apps. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are interesting kind of things that are happening, and I think are better ways to build organizations. And it's not about just like, I have 1 million followers. Okay, if I have 1 million followers, but of that 1,000,000, 950,000 haven't been engaged in years. Wouldn't you rather have, Jesus had 12 guys who were really into him. Look what happened.
Stick with that.
Start with 12.
I love that. I love that.
So good.
Ryan, what would your ideal project or collaboration be?
I mean, I think so. As an organization, we've been really focused on, trying to find clients. We work in politics, nonprofit, and kind of straight up commercial. Selling hamburgers. Keep. But for the social impact work, where we can be a little more choosy, where we choose where we can pursue like work. We want to do more stuff in the LGBT space. We have a really cool campaign now with the Gill Foundation, where we're talking to the parents of trans youth and we're having other parents say, hey, it's totally cool. It's totally normal. I have a trans child. Not a big deal, and, it's not like the world's like, there's no celebrities in it, because it's just moms talking to moms and dads talking to dads. And then none of them have that many followers, but the paid media is putting them in front of them. So that's more stuff like that. I mean, I would love to push back against the Trump agenda on immigration.
Hell yeah.
I think any of these spaces. Yeah. And then I've been worried about like the public health stuff. I had this idea that all these hospital groups are going to step up and start like buying ads to promote just like vaccination, but that hasn't seemed to happen yet. But we ran the largest pro COVID vaccination campaign with the ad council. We got like 1,200 people over the course of a year to make content. And, we started with the most skeptical groups at the time, which was like the rural white folks. And then we moved into the cities, and then we moved into, get your kid vaccinated. And then we moved into get your booster. So we worked with people throughout the entirety and told that story. And we should be doing that right now in Texas for the measles,
Yes.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you brought that up, because it is interesting that no health groups are really truly, and maybe it's also geographically based on where you live, but you're not seeing those sort of campaigns popping up. When I was working on an insurance brand last year, one of the reasons why I loved working in strategy at that company was because I was able to work on those types of campaigns. And I never worked truly in the health space in that way before. And I found it to be extremely rewarding, because I thought it was so important. It was nice to work with an health insurance company that truly seemed to care. And the campaigns we were working on were about getting kids vaccinated in these areas where they had extremely low rates, getting people back on their Medicaid because Texas had kicked them off and didn't tell them. It was like, these are such important issues that sometimes on the coast, we don't even realize are happening until now we're seeing these conversations about being, on a national level of all these things being dropped in a big way. Vaccines gone, Medicaid, Medicare, like all of it. I have definitely become much more interested in the healthcare space since then. And there's so much work to be done on a systemic level.
And there's
there.
so and these communities are harder to reach, and you've got, you know, they can't be reached with your traditional marketing dollars.
Nope.
You have to be smart. You know, it's, you have to think of it like with the census. You know, the census folks are always so good at like finding everybody. Like we've got to do that for public health. And like I think the influencer work, some of the really cool paid media stuff that's happening, I think could really help. But the Texas stuff scares me, you know. Oh my gosh! So I'm born in 1982. Not to give too much away. So I get my MMR vaccine. You know, when you get it first year or something, right?
Yeah.
I go to my doctor and I say I'm worried about this Texas thing. You know, I read online that the MMR can fade, and she goes, "I'll test to see if you're responsive." Not responsive. I had to go get another MMR shot, and that tells you, like, folks, you know.
Totally. I had a friend post about it, if you were born before whatever date, because I'm 83. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I have my physical next week, after she had brought it up. And I went and asked, and I guess there's something, I think when you're pregnant, my daughter's almost 5, but I guess there must have been something I got when I was pregnant that either they tested or boosted, that she was like, oh no, I can see in your records, you're still fine. She's like, everyone's been asking me, don't worry, you're okay. Because I was expecting to have to get another shot that day.
Well, folks should definitely ask. Folks should ask, or the doctor should ask you.
100%. They should be forward thinking, bringing it up. But I think, you know, even with vaccines, and to your point about how to reach people, it's sometimes, especially in, you know, rural communities or in some of these different areas, people don't even trust their doctors.
Right.
Oh,
and so there's so many different, you need to know what is holding people back from these conversations, and the different ways and tactics that you can use to actually find people, reach people, who those trusted messengers are. Like even you were saying with the parents of the trans youth, like that is an influencer probably wouldn't do anything to them, because who cares what that celebrity has to say about, even if they do have a trans child, right? It's, you want to find the person that you can relate to, that you trust.
Yeah.
So having those sort of micro conversations is actually a much more authentic way to break through.
Some of the most impactful content we've had has been in language, so like Spanish creators doing Spanish content. It's the engagement rates are just like off the roof, because they just don't get like, wow, somebody cares enough to like produce this content about us. Like it feels like special, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And it doesn't translate the same way if you literally translate it from English to not, or you don't have people who speak,
or AI,
where they came from. Like there's so many different levels even to that, right? Even into where people come from, what state they're based in, what sort of Spanish they're speaking. Like it's not just a one size fits all.
Right.
Yeah. An Ecuadorian, it wouldn't make sense to have Ecuadorian talking to the Mexican community.
Exactly. Ryan, getting back to the trans parents campaign for just a second, is it live yet? Can we share it in the?
We might be able to share some stuff in the show notes. Yeah, let me see what's live.
And then my other question was, are you working with a nonprofit partner, or like, because I immediately started thinking about Stand with Trans. One of my best friends sits on the board, and I know that they would be all over this to help support.
We would love to talk to them. This came through the Gill Foundation, so they had like partnerships attached. But you know, we'd love to organizations like that. That's an issue that's certainly one we want to be, you know, as out front on as we can.
Amazing. Well, before we jump into the campaign that you've brought us, Ryan, we're going to quickly review our criteria, both for you and for our listeners. So the first thing we always look at is alignment.
Next is partnerships.
Call to action and transparency.
Engagement.
And lastly, optimization and amplification.
So on that note, Ryan, if you can please tell us a little bit about the campaign that you brought us today, if it's doing it well, or maybe not, what your take on that is. And if you can give us a little creative summary. So if somebody hasn't seen it yet, we'll obviously share it in the show notes, but that way they have a base to know what we're talking about.
So the campaign is from Hinge, and it's called No Ordinary Love. And it's entirely a Substack campaign that they've sort of released kind of around Pride Month, because it tells like queer stories. And they have a different short story writer talking about real couples, how they met and fell in love. And they have an introduction from Roxanne Gay, very classy.
Yes.
And then each week they're publishing one of these stories written by a different short story writer. And I think it's really simple. I think it succeeds in it got probably more press than visitors, because when you look at the engagement levels, it's like pretty low. Like the Roxanne post did the best because she co-tagged, like, Substack you can
Yeah.
co-tag,
Yeah.
and it seems like the rest of the authors didn't have their own, so unfortunately they weren't able to like lift up each one with like a Roxanne style. But I liked the embrace of Substack, the working with a bunch of real authors. It's like anti AI. Instead of not telling us who it's written by, it's written by a person. If you Google, they wrote a novel last year that's quite lovely.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I think it's a classy campaign, and it's good content. They say they're going after Gen Z though. Is Substack really the platform for that?
Yeah, exactly. I had the same thought, Ryan. Like, who is the audience here, right? And very very selfishly, I guess, like I had my own Hinge love story. So when I saw this, I was like, yay, Hinge, that's amazing. And also I appreciate what you said about, like, you didn't have the Roxanne Gay effect, right? Because they obviously hadn't done their research on who who were the influencers on that particular platform, and how can you leverage their impact and their audience in order to grow and to get more eyeballs. And yes, it's great to have this in the press and to be able to talk to, okay, this is the reason why we did it. We wanted to highlight queer love stories.
Yeah.
And what like where is that other piece of it, right? So yeah, let's get into it.
It also seems a little self-contained. Like, looking at the engagement on each of the posts, I feel like if they had spent a little paid media on each of these,
Yeah.
they could have gotten a lot more eyeballs. Certainly, you can find people who are interested in reading queer fiction pretty easily. That's an addressable audience. They said they were inspired by Book Talk, which is cool, but there doesn't seem to be a TikTok component to the campaign or any video for that matter.
Which
It's
again, like Substack being such a text
Yeah.
heavy place, like, yeah, what a missed opportunity for again going on to TikTok and having this additional component of interactivity and engagement, and really meeting the audience
You could have
where they would embrace it
you could have interviewed each of the authors about what the process was like to
easily.
work with the couples. You could have had the couples talk about like what it was like telling their story, and did they feel like the author captured, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of supplementary content, you have to think when you're making a campaign now, then it's like, okay, now what are the DVD extras, like what are they going to be?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yes. Nailed it.
it's yeah, it's interesting because it actually looks like they initially launched this in August of last year.
Hmm.
And then I don't know if they like relaunched
Oh yeah, and I
now,
guess in June they started sending it out again. I didn't notice that.
which is
Good
kind
job,
of
sleuth.
fascinating. I'm like a creepy Googler while we talked. So if I was making faces, that was why. But it looks like, which is also interesting because is there truly a return to a printed book, a long form book? They, in addition to the Substack, they had an 80-page print zine in New York and London in September. So
Oh,
I don't know if
that's
they brought that component back with it
I believe the
also.
kids call them zines, Alana.
That makes sense. So anyhow.
that's I also like the IRL component, right, of that, because if you hand somebody something like that on the street in New York, the odds of them like putting that on social media are pretty high, right? It's like
Right.
if it's a cool looking
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
80 pages, I don't know, but it looks like if the pages, if I imagine this is the design that they actually posted, it's actually kind of cool looking. Like if somebody handed you
Mm-hmm.
that, I feel like you would read it, or at least flip through it, or maybe you like flip through it on the subway and then leave it for the next person, or what, I don't know. It feels like the kind of thing that you could like stash in coffee shops, or like people would pick up on their random walker.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
again, I am biased, full stop, because I met my husband on Hinge. But like, out of all, I'd been on dating apps since 2008. And like I finally met my husband, and oh gosh, we're about to have our 5-year anniversary. But like one of the things about Hinge that I absolutely love is their marketing, is their sense of humor, is their playfulness about it. And I love how, you know, their whole thing is like, get rid of your dating app. We are so confident that you're going to meet your person that we want you to get off of this dating app and never go back to it again. And to me, that strong positioning and that very clear identity comes through in this activation, which is fantastic. Just in thinking about the alignment, maybe not necessarily with the audience, right? But definitely with their brand.
Steph, I have a question for you. Who would you want to write your short Hinge
Ooh.
story?
Oh my God, Roxanne Gay.
She's taken. She's
Already done.
Yeah.
New choice.
New choice. Okay. Who would I want? I mean, does it have to be an author, or can it be like, I mean, because Tina Fey is like my forever.
She
Fey's
is
an
an
author.
author.
I know.
I have her book.
I know. I have it too. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
But yes.
Tina
Fey.
That's a great choice.
1000%.
Yeah.
I
would probably go with Sally Rooney because I sort of, you know, I feel like my whatever that story would be would fit within a Sally Rooney kind of situation.
So good.
I love it.
I will say, I do appreciate that they took an approach that's so different from what you would expect a dating app to take. Whether or not that actually reaches their market, I think it's an interesting approach, no less. Very opposite of, I don't know what all the other data apps are currently.
Well, it'll be interesting to see like brands and organizations that do Substack really well. I'm trying to find really good examples. You know, I'm a marketing agency. Substack's great for us because we write monthly newsletters about marketing, and that's a real fit for Substack. And it works. Clients will reply back and be like, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something," you know. And so that stuff is really valuable. And I think Substack's a fascinating community. The way that the growth works is sort of interesting. Although in the very Substacks I've been kind of privy to the internals, the free subscribers you get from Substack, they tend to like not be high openers because it's too easy to subscribe. Because it's like, hey, do you want to subscribe to 7 things? And if somebody clicks yes, what are the odds you're going to read? You're going to read 7 new newsletters every day? Like, that's a commitment, you know?
Yeah. Well, and depending on that too, and maybe it's different. I will admit I am not currently a paid subscriber of any Substack. I only get the free ones. And I will also admit that I don't generally read them because they lump them all into one email half the time. And they're like, here's what's new for you on Substack. And I'm like, well, that's not helpful because that's too many things to look at. So now I'm just not going to open the email at all. So that totally makes sense.
And shameless plug, Missed Opportunities for Good is launching our own Substack in honor of our 2-year anniversary. So I'm trying to figure out the platform as we speak.
Cool.
Sorry. I just saw something else about this campaign. This is literally the second installment of it.
Just discovered a sleuth moment. Share, please.
What's interesting about this? Sorry, now I'm going to take a totally different take based on what I'm reading of this Inc. article. Isn't the whole thing with Gen Z that people are also just dating less because of nothing being online? So I guess with Book Talk there was that insight about romance novels, but also is that actually helping if people are just not interested in real life connection? I feel like maybe there's actually a disconnect in the actuality of that to some extent.
Aren't they creating the aspiration, or they're trying to create the aspiration? Like, look how beautiful this is. I don't think this, again, like, I don't think Gen Z, not that many Gen Zers are lovers of short literature. That's why the medium's a little weird for Gen Z. But if this was like targeting, you know, telling dudes in their, you know, gay dudes in their 40s to just like, it's time to get married. Here's some gay lit, you know. And I'm like, like I'd be like, oh, all right. Oh, I've read this guy's book, you know. So
Yeah.
But Gen Z, I don't know if that's, I would work with 5 pop artists who like write 5 pop songs about love, and like do a playlist,
There
and
you go.
that would be fun, right?
Totally.
We could get 5 creators and you can run that campaign like that.
Absolutely.
There you go. Call Ryan. He's got you.
Well, yeah. And I love what you said, Ryan, about the supplemental content, right? Because that's really how you're going to pull in the audience that you want. This is a cool activation. Great. Not the audience that you wanted. Okay. Awesome. Then let's take the bigger picture of that interactivity and that engagement that's missing from this. And that's how you're going to not only activate your creators, Ryan, but also to activate the audiences
Right.
that they are really looking for. Missed opportunities, Hinge.
Fun fact, they do have an IRL component. It says that they had a 10.5% increase in brand consideration from the last campaign.
Okay.
So now they're going for part 2. And instead of doing the zine, they're doing a hardcover in-print book, limited edition, that they will be handing out for free to select in-person book clubs in New York and London. And they're calling out that anything they could do to encourage people to meet up in person. So it is actually interesting that they did add that component after the first piece to truly bring people together to have that conversation.
That's
I
clever.
can't imagine a bunch of 20-year-olds sitting around in a room reading this together and like then suddenly wanting to date each other or something. But I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I don't. That it's again, that's an interesting component, but it doesn't make it more Gen Z. If anything, it makes it a little less Gen Z.
Yeah. How true.
But they're claiming that Gen Z is in a book club. I mean, I was at that age in a book club, but that doesn't mean that people are now. But apparently there are some people that are based on their research. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out of this one. Now I'm very curious. I'm now invested in the outcomes of this campaign. So they do have some other elements. It's not solely on Substack. They do have an out-of-home running with this one, but solely in New York and London. But I guess you target big cities. It's interesting to not just stick to the US, but to go with 2 fully different markets to launch as well.
London's a city of readers, I would think. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like they could have just launched it in the UK. It's kind of got that twee kind of UK vibe.
Yeah, totally. That's fascinating.
Is there a nonprofit that's a part of this or any sort of probably not?
There should be though, right? Why that would have been such an easy win for everybody.
Right. This is why
I mean,
we
even
exist.
just bringing it to libraries.
Yeah.
Even
Right.
just, you know,
brilliant.
But Gen Z
libraries offer so much support.
Gen Z loves when brands do callsy stuff like that.
Yep.
So they would have responded to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And
So interesting.
yeah, right. Like so the call to action here is
Sign up for Hinge.
yeah.
Find your love match and delete our app. Get
Right.
out in real life and date so you can delete our app because you're going to find your person.
And you're going to write your own love story.
And the CTA is, I mean, what I do like about it is it's not an aggressive CTA.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, it's barely. I'm just looking at one of the stories. I don't even really see a Hinge CTA.
Yeah, no, it's literally read both sides of the real love story. Like on the billboard is literally their CTA and calls people out to the website.
Fascinating.
Content marketing. The marketing, is the product.
Yep, exactly. I think we nailed it. Any other missed opportunities for good?
I think it's obviously expanding more than just 2 cities, but I think it would be interesting to know as well. They're just doing book clubs, but what other sort of, now Pamela's in my head with what she's been doing.
I know, me too.
Mavenverse, but like what other communities that they could be embedding this into and what their actual target audience is. And is this something that you engage people on college campuses? What other sort of micro communities, in addition to partnering with nonprofits, like what other sort of micro communities can you kind of
College campuses
engage directly?
college campuses would be clever, right? Because
Yeah,
you could partner with like you could do a guest thing on like writing like a love
Yes.
story and have one of the authors come to campus. So that
There
would be
you
so much
go.
fun. Yeah,
Come into a
yeah,
literature class
yeah.
or that's
Yeah, and
fun.
there's also in LA, I know, and I think there's at least one in New York as well. There's an actual bookshop that just sells romance novels,
Yeah.
but doing pop-up live events. You could do a speed dating or in real life event in one of these sorts of little like romance novel-y type of places.
Heck yeah.
I don't know if that's going to draw on the men, but who knows? If you're trying to sell it to them with the romance stories anyways, maybe it will. Because I guess that would be my other question. Does this appeal to men as much as it appeals to women, or are you literally just trying to get more women on the app?
I would feel like if I don't know what Hinge's number one problem is, but if I were Hinge, it would be like, how do I get as many women on the app as I possibly can? The men are going to come to the app, right?
If the women are there, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's true. Maybe it is solely
Yeah.
geared towards women, and maybe that is
Maybe it all makes more sense on thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
you can
also
fall in love
it's-
on Hinge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Period.
Period.
End of sentence. Yeah. And also these were targeted queer love stories, right?
Some of them are queer, yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought I
They
wasn't
run
sure
the
if it was
gamut.
all-
They're not
Yeah.
solely.
Yeah. Okay.
They're really diverse, so I think intentionally so.
My fault.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it. So it wasn't just like a pride campaign.
I might have
This was-
implied that falsely earlier.
Okay. All right. Got it. Phew. All right. I was like, did I miss something?
I will say what is interesting about it as well is that they, to the transparency point, maybe to some extent, is that they publicly share their report on Gen Z and their research on what daters are looking for, dating trends, all of those things. They do a full Gen Z report, which obviously I haven't read through. It actually looks pretty short, but interesting that they publish that. So you can access that as well to sort of see what the back end side of this is all about. Interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I guess that's a really good DVD extra. Like, how transparent do you want to be about that kind of stuff? Like, we release data, but most of the time the client doesn't want anything to do with it. So it'll just be like, it's just a campaign we ran for an organization, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what a missed opportunity for them too, right? Because if I was just talking to, I hosted a workshop over the weekend around personal branding and being able to market yourself and your business online and how daunting that can be for so many people.
Right.
And also how much you're losing out on by not sharing what you know and sharing your voice and sharing your wisdom. And the same goes for brands, right? So yeah, I'm sure that there are a lot of brands that are like, oh no, we don't want to touch this data. Like don't put us associated with it. And also, how sad for them, because they could have been a part of something bigger than themselves and decided, no, this is too controversial, or no, this isn't something we feel comfortable putting our name behind. But good for you for still, getting the reports out there and sharing, because we need that.
Apparently they have multiple reports. It's called a date report, data, advice, trends, and expertise. The first date report was last year on highlighting the experiences of the LGBTQIA plus community.
I think I remember
they offered
that.
a distraction-free dating guide to minimize distractions along their dating journey. I don't know. It seems like they're doing some interesting things.
That's really clever. Yeah.
I like that.
So it seems like they're paying attention. So there must be something to this romance novel approach.
Anybody who is, any gay person I know who is dating would want to know more statistics about, like, is what I'm going through normal? Like, what's happening? Yeah. So that's smart marketing.
And literally it says in that report that I was just scanning through, the current report is like, it calls out the main concerns that they covered in this last year on the Gen Z report, but that people are so afraid of rejection, they won't have conversations around the state of the relationship or whatever, but they're like, we're trying to normalize that this is a normal part of relationships and that there will be rejection. And he's like, it's not you, it's everyone. Ooh. So it is interesting. And putting out these reports are trying to dispel these discomfort areas, dispel these myths. Whether anyone's actually going on and reading these reports is obviously always another question, but the fact that they're actually sharing that sort of information is, potentially helpful, and hopefully people do speak to each other on all of those things.
My heart just hurts for these kids. I mean, like, if
Yeah.
being like, sure, everybody has fear of rejection, but like to the nth degree, to the extreme of completely closing yourself off to any human connection out of fear of that rejection. Whew, whew, oof, oof.
Yeah. It's a tough world post-COVID out there.
Yeah, it's a tough world, period.
Yeah.
I mean, tough world, yeah, period, end of story.
Yeah.
You never know what the next day is going to bring these days.
Right.
Ryan, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd love to share or any other projects you'd like to highlight before we jump off?
Yeah, so I've been publishing this monthly Substack called The Month in Digital. I'm writing it really for folks who are digital strategy, marketing folks who just want to kind of make sure they didn't miss anything over the last month. And I'm writing it because I feel like I needed a way to make sure that I was like keeping up on all the latest news. And working in social media now since 2004, every day is an adventure. So
Constantly evolving.
Yeah. So this keeps me in shape.
Perfect.
You have 2 new subscribers because
Thank you.
We obviously need to keep up on the pulse as well, and the zines.
Yeah. And where else can we send people to learn more about you and your work? We'll obviously link the show notes, and how can we send them to you and People First?
Yeah, come check out People First, People First FCC, and I'm super active on LinkedIn and Substack.
Good stuff.
Cool. We'll link to both of those as well in the show notes.
Awesome.
Well, such a pleasure.
Oh, this was great.
This was so much fun. I don't usually laugh so much on these, so thank you.
Let's shine a light and learn from those who are doing it well and reduce the missed opportunities for good.
We want to hear from you. Let us know. What campaigns are you seeing that are doing it well? Who would you like to see us interview? And what campaign would you like us to audit?
Thank you, our listeners and supporters, for joining us on our mission to revolutionize the industry that we love.
Missed Opportunities for Good is a production of Aligned for Impact and Love of Good.